Welcome back to a lesson called Action Stations 2, which is a follow-on to the previous lesson about actually being able to take action when it's important. So I'm going to discuss some tips and tricks that might help you get yourself into action. Okay, the first of these really is the idea of getting inspired. If you want to take action, it's always best to have a little bit of inspiration. I like that Zig Ziglar quote. I always thought that was an unusual name, Zig Ziglar. People say motivation doesn't last. Well, neither does bathing, so he recommended daily. If you can find yourself some way to motivate yourself on a daily basis about what you are inspired about, that will certainly help you take action. Now, this isn't really a goal setting lesson as such, but it is very important to have some goals and perhaps on a daily basis remind yourself about what the important things are that you would like to achieve. Now, whatever works for you, use it. I sometimes like to watch inspirational YouTube videos in the morning when I'm doing exercise, or perhaps people prefer to write affirmations out and repeat them throughout the day. You can have post-it notes on the fridge or on the bathroom mirror or on your office computer or wherever you happen to be to remind you of the important things of the day. And some people, of course, use screensavers and read books that are quite inspiring to them as well. So remind yourself on a regular basis of what is important to you. Now, one of the issues with the large tasks is, of course, it's very, very easy to feel overwhelmed. You've all heard the metaphor of how do you eat the elephant, one bite at a time. Well, it is quite a good metaphor, and sometimes it is best to try and chunk a large task into small, manageable chunks and spend just 5 minutes on doing something towards the accomplishment of that task. We will be discussing this in a little bit more detail later on in the course. And of course, you've also heard the Chinese proverb, a journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. So if you can find a way of breaking large imposing tasks down to small chunks, you will find that it makes it a lot easier to begin to take action rather than being overwhelmed. Now, Newton's first law of physics, sometimes known as the law of inertia, I don't intend this to become a physics lesson, but basically an object remains at rest until acted upon by an external force. It also remains in motion as well. As I say, this isn't a physics lesson, but we can use this basic concept to our advantage. As you know, if you try and push something like a car or whatever, it's very difficult to get it moving, but once it gets going, it tends to carry itself due to its inertia. So once you get the ball rolling with some small action, preferably some small, low pain and easy action, once you've done that action, it gets the ball rolling, it overcomes that initial inertia. So for example, you might want to write the first sentence on a report or on a new book or whatever. You might write a single email to a potential customer, a first press up or push up of the day, the first sit up. You might get the iron out and iron that first shirt, whatever it happens to be. If it's a large task, once you actually start carrying it out, it breaks down the inertia and keeps you moving. So Newton's first law can be used to your advantage. The whole idea of momentum is an important, useful concept which you can use to help you start and continue taking action. Now, another way you might want to help yourself with this is to think of appreciation, reframing the whole problem. So rather than thinking, I've got to do this, perhaps you should be thinking of, I get to do this. Bit of a Joni Mitchell fan myself. You don't know what you've got till it's gone. Well, sometimes you have the opportunities in life to do things. For example, go for that run when you're fit enough to be able to do it before you perhaps get too old or injure yourself. Perhaps being able to do that hard task at work while you're still actually in work, because you don't know, you might end up out of work one day. You might be getting to write that presentation for a job interview. It might be difficult, but you need to bear in mind that you probably are pleased that you've got the opportunity to actually write that. So if you have a task at hand, perhaps you should begin appreciating the fact that that task needs doing and that you do have the ability to do that task, and the only thing that's stopping you is your inability to take action and nothing else. So sometimes it's useful to create pressure on yourself. You've heard that expression, if you want something done, give it to a busy person. Well, deadlines can be desirable, structure can speed you up somewhat, and pressure can be a positive thing. Sometimes to create pressure you need to enlist the help of others, perhaps friends, family, perhaps on Facebook, social media, perhaps through your colleagues or your boss or whoever. Sometimes by making your intentions known, it holds you accountable to some extent externally. You may also want to meet with some people who are like-minded people. I would recommend meetup groups. They're quite useful if you want to get into the environment where other people with similar interests and similar goals and desires might hang out, and you can let them know about your intentions and perhaps ask them to hold you accountable through email, through telephone, through whatever mechanism is best. And sometimes if it's a really important task that perhaps needs some guidance, it may be worth laying out some money for a coach or a mentor. Obviously, once you've laid out money for a coach or mentor, you're always going to feel obliged to carry out those actions to make sure you're getting your money's worth. So sometimes it is worth hiring external help to create that pressure to get things done. The second of the progress opportunities, as I like to call them, is to have you start a journal. It could be a physical journal, a book, or a notepad, or an electronic journal on your iPad, on Evernote, or whatever method you need to use, and start to look at the techniques that we've used today and start to try some of these. So ideally you'll pick an item from your to-do list and you'll try applying one of the things we talked about today, whether that's breaking down the task into manageable chunks, whether that's reframing it to I get to as opposed to I have to. Any of the things that we've discussed today, I suggest you try at least one of those techniques, see how it goes, and then review it. And the process of journaling is a very powerful process, because it allows you to check on your process and hold yourself accountable. And it's often quite revealing to look back at your journal after a week or a month or whatever to see how much you've actually achieved, or to use your journal to set goals for the day, the week, the month, etc. And don't forget that daily action muscle training about deciding to do something and doing it because you want to do it. Thank you. See you next time.